This is a recording. JTNT Neo Kobe.
Hey, how's it going? Today I wanted to talk about a little experiment that I did. I recently purchased a used new 3DS XL and I noticed that the battery was actually bulging inside of it, and obviously we can't use it if that's happening. So I sought to replace the battery, and I noticed that you're spoiled for choice. You know, you open up Amazon and you're presented with tons of options, all from these like fairly cheap looking Chinese batteries. And you think to yourself, do I really want to deal with this? You know, do I really want to take that risk of having a cheap battery and having it die immediately or having it explode? But thankfully, there is an alternative. You can still buy OEM batteries from Nintendo for the newer 3DS systems. And in this video, I'm going to show you how, and we're going to find out just how well the OEM batteries compare to the aftermarket ones. Are the aftermarket ones better, or is the OEM still the way to go? And does the benefit of buying it off Amazon, does it outweigh the benefit of getting it from Nintendo? So that's what this video is about, and this is just a quick kind of test between the two. So the aftermarket battery I bought was on Amazon. It is the Cellonic SPR001. So the reason I went with this battery in particular is for two reasons. The first reason being that I've actually used the Cellonic batteries before. I used a Cellonic battery with my Game Boy Advance SP, and it works fairly well. I mean, it's not amazing battery life or anything. You could probably get way better battery life from a, LiPo mod or whatever, but I just wanted something, cheap and cheerful, and it's really done the job. And the second reason is that this battery is right in the middle, because you can get super cheap batteries for like £8, or you can get really expensive batteries for about 20 to £25. But this is £15, right smack dab in the middle. And I feel like that is a really good price. And I think it's a fair comparison because, if I bought a really crappy cheap battery, like one of these like £8 ones, and compared it to a Nintendo one, that's not a fair fight. We already know that the cheap battery's not going to last very long. So I wanted to get something that, is in the same ballpark as the Nintendo one. And as for acquiring a Nintendo one, uh, it's actually a little bit more involved. Alright, so this is kind of the tutorial part of the video. I just wanted to include this because I can't really find any resources for how to do this besides like two posts on Reddit. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to the Nintendo support or contact the Nintendo support page. I'll put this in the description so you can just click and go. And this specific tutorial is for people in the UK, but I'm going to assume this also applies to most other regions, specifically Europe. What you're going to want to do is you select category, and you're going to want to select repairs and technical assistance. And what I clicked was a cost estimation, and then I want more information about the cost estimation. And it'll say blah blah blah, here's warranty, just ignore all this. So you get to this page. Just ignore this because you don't have a repair number and you don't have any of this. You're going to want to go to start chatting with us. This is the live chat, and I believe it's only open Monday through Friday. Yeah, here's the hours, Monday through Friday. And I got chat within like 2 to 3 minutes. It was really fast. You just click start chatting now, and you fill in everything here, topics. I believe I picked, I want more info, yeah. And just, put in the description like, hey, my 3DS stopped charging or my battery is not working. I would like to order a new one. How much would that cost? And it just kind of goes on from there. So once you actually get a chat, it's pretty standard customer support stuff. I also asked they do repairs for the 3DS. And you can still get your console repaired, but I didn't send mine in because I put custom firmware on it, and I've heard that if you do put custom firmware on it, they won't actually repair it. So I figured, okay, we're not going to do that. And I asked them if they do IPS screens, and the lady obviously wasn't going to know. But, I figured I'd ask anyway. So from then on out, you just say, hey, like, I want this battery, and they say, okay, we'll get back to you. And you should get an email with an estimation cost. And you should get an email for them asking for your information, your address, and, which email to send it to. And then after that, they give you a cost inquiry, and you can either accept it or deny it. I didn't decline it, because I didn't need to, that was a good enough price for me, £18. Though, I mean, maybe if you deny it, maybe you can kind of like haggle them. I don't know. You'd have to try that for yourself. And then from then on out, they just kind of filed it through, and I got the battery the next day. So it was a fairly seamless process. It's not as easy as ordering, one click buy now from Amazon. Like it is a bit more involved, and depending on, how busy they are, you could end up waiting a while. I think that is the one drawback of going through the Nintendo route. I wish they had that. Like on the NA site, they just have it listed. I don't know why you have to go through support, but whatever. With that in mind, the Nintendo battery did show up next day, UPS, as soon as I ordered it. As soon as the Cellonic battery showed up, I decided to drain the battery first, because from past experience and, just from, picking up things here and there, I learned that when you buy a electronic device with a battery, or if you just buy a new battery, there is a bit of residual charge, usually from the factory. It's best to drain that battery so that residual charge is completely out of there, and then charge it from there. So when I first got this battery, it lasted for 3 hours and 15 minutes. And this was me trying to actually drain the thing. That made me a bit confused, because you'll see this battery does not last that long from here on out. So once it was fully drained, I fully charged it over again, and that took another 3 hours. And from then on out, I decided to do our first test. The program I was using is called 3DS Battery Mark, and this is a really good program if you want to know how good your battery is, because it tracks the voltage, it tracks the percentage, and it tracks the temperature of your battery in real time, and it gives you an estimate of the battery's maximum time, its average, and its minimum, which is really cool. And also, you have the option to submit your ranking and compare it to other people's batteries. So you can see like what's the cream of the crop in terms of batteries, and some people get like 10 hours, which is insane. You can see, people who really need a new battery. So the Cellonic battery, it lasted 2 hours and 43 minutes. Now, this is on maximum brightness with Wi-Fi on, and the power saving mode is off. This is basically the system running full hog. It is not holding back. There's nothing restraining it. And, some people might say, like, okay, I'm not playing like that. I'm playing at minimum brightness. I'm playing at, with Wi-Fi off. I'm playing at mid brightness. Like, we could go on and on and on and on. This is more of a stress test. Obviously, with any battery, like, if I use less brightness, it's going to save me a bit of time. The average battery life of a 3DS XL, according to Nintendo themselves, is 3 to 5 hours. I generally say about 3.5 hours. I'd say that's fairly standard for people playing mid-level brightness. Wi-Fi is probably on. Maybe they have power saving mode on or off. I don't think the power saving mode really works, but that's just me. And obviously, if you have 3D on, that probably drains it even higher. We could have gone further, but it doesn't matter. So 2 hours 43 minutes, not terrible. Not terrible, but we could definitely do better. So a day after the Cellonic battery arrived, I got the Nintendo one. It was quite nifty to see, Nintendo packaging. Ooh, Nintendo cardboard box. Special edition. I don't know. It's always a bit fun. There's something novel about getting something straight from Nintendo. I actually got some stuff from Nintendo as a kid. They're from their repair service, and that was always like, oh my god, it's from their factory. Yeah, it's just stupid. Consumerism. So, I also, during this time, got the TrackPoint mod, which is basically just switching out the crappy little C stick with this TrackPoint, and I recommend that, by the way. Much more responsive. So, the Nintendo battery, when that got here, interestingly, that was faster to drain than the Cellonic battery. So the Nintendo battery from unboxing, took an hour to drain, which compared to the 3 hours of the Cellonic battery when that was unboxed is really strange. I'm not really sure why that is. Their charging time, the Nintendo battery charging time, is about the same, about 3 hours. Nintendo's actual test, the Nintendo battery lasted 3 hours and 26 minutes. Immediately, that is quite a difference. So remember, the Cellonic battery lasted for 2 hours and 45 minutes. That is a significant difference. That's about a 50% difference between the two. So now that we've seen what the batteries can withstand at the maximum settings, I wanted to try it the other way around to see how far they can go. And I decided not to do a time lapse for this one because it was just going to take way too long. The system was going to be on for about 6 hours, and I have to do that twice. So I decided to skip out on it and just go off the estimations from 3DS Battery Mark because they've been fairly accurate. And this is where things get interesting. So the Cellonic battery actually beat the Nintendo battery in this scenario. And I believe that's because the Cellonic battery is actually listed as a higher capacity than the Nintendo one. So the Nintendo battery is 1,750 milliamps, whereas the Cellonic one, that's 800. So it is a higher capacity, which makes me think that's why it was estimated to last a bit longer in low power state, just because it has a bit more capacity in the battery. But that also makes me think that the battery, when it's put under more stress, if we put the brightness up and Wi-Fi on, it can't handle it. It's not as strong as the Nintendo one. I still think that the Cellonic battery is fairly good. I mean, a higher capacity is good, but in my opinion, I'd prefer to have more quality battery cells, just because they're more reliable. I'm not playing at minimum brightness and power saving mode on. I'm not that desperate for battery life. I'm more concerned about the longevity of the battery. So this is a more interesting test, and I feel like this rounds up the general consensus between these two batteries. But I think there is a clear gap between the two. Is that gap really noticeable? Personally, I think so. It goes beyond just playtime, but it also goes to quality. I personally feel safer with a battery that was hand chosen by the manufacturer, that was straight from them and has, it's like sanctioned by Nintendo, like they know what works with their system. And if you're like me and you're probably using custom firmware and you're using like 60 FPS cheats and stuff, you want a battery that is well made and is proven. Whereas these aftermarket ones, not so much. Like you really just don't know. You just don't know how good they can be. And for what I paid for £15, not terrible for an aftermarket battery. Not bad at all. Seriously, not bad in the slightest. But would I use it over the Nintendo one? No, I wouldn't. Just wouldn't. And I bet you were asking, the price of what the Nintendo one is? That's £18. So there's not even that much of a price difference between the two. They're roughly the same thing, about £3 difference, and it might even be cheaper if you haggle them. I mean, I don't even think there's a set price on these things. Like, I think it's just, what are the repair guys willing to quote you today? So in the end, is the aftermarket battery worth it when you can just easily get a Nintendo battery? I'd personally say no, it's not. Because you can get the Nintendo battery so easily, just, if you're patient, if you just spend maybe like 30 minutes of your time, contacting Nintendo, it really does not take that much effort. And yeah, like, you don't get it instantly, but do you really need it It's a 3DS battery. Like, unless this is the only thing you have, I don't think you need an aftermarket battery immediately. Now, on the other hand, there are people who might not have access to Nintendo support. There are definitely countries where they probably won't quote you on this. They won't supply you with this. And for them, the aftermarket battery is fine. I think in that situation, it is, this will serve you. It will serve you fine. It's not as good as OEM, but, it is certainly better than, like, having nothing, right? Like, I'd much rather have an aftermarket battery that, has a bit less capacity, or maybe just isn't as high quality, or the cells just aren't as good as the Nintendo one. If it just meant that I had a battery that wasn't bloated, if I could get rid of the old crappy battery, because I mean, we're approaching almost 10 years of those new 3DS systems, which is insane. And even more so for the older 3DS systems. So getting a new battery in any capacity, even if it is some slightly lower quality aftermarket one, it's fine. That is fine. But just keep in mind that you're probably going to have to buy another one eventually, because these cells just aren't as reliable, they're not as durable as the Nintendo batteries. So even if you buy one now, you'll probably have to replace it at some point, which is the problem. I don't know how long that might take. Seeing as the battery could be degrading already, it obviously might not last as long as a Nintendo one. But again, it's better to have a new battery than an old bloated one. I also think that if you have access to Nintendo support and you need a new battery like right now, you should do it now, because I don't think they're going to be offering this service much longer, seeing as they've already shut down the eShop and they're going to be shutting down all the online servers for the 3DS pretty soon. So that gives me a hunch that this kind of thing, like the service repair stuff, they're not going to be doing it for the 3DS line much longer. Though, who knows? I don't know. They haven't announced anything, but that's just pure speculation. Now, don't start just hoarding them. Because buying batteries when you don't need them, batteries degrade over time regardless, and even keeping them in storage, they get old. They get old. So if you're planning on, I'm going to be an epic scalper and just buy a ton of these batteries and sit on them for years so my 3DS has a new battery whenever the old one dies, don't do that. Because not only are you screwing other people over, you're also not benefiting at all, because these batteries do last about 5 to 10 years, and by the time you need to replace it, the batteries you've already been hoarding are probably not good anymore. So just don't do that before you even get the idea. Anyways, that's about it for this video. Again, I'm working on a bigger project, which is about the GBA. I've been working on it for months. I'm really hoping to get it out soon, but this video kind of just came out of the blue, much like my micro video. And I just wanted to, because I thought, not a lot of people know about this, and I see people asking, where can I get OEM batteries in Europe or the UK, and here's your option. This is how you do it. So yeah, with that being said, thanks for watching, and if you end up going through this process, or maybe you have an aftermarket battery that is like you'd like to recommend, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to get some feedback and just hear what people are using. So yeah, thanks for watching, and hope you have a good day.